I'm Doug Malone. I'm the Director of Vehicle Operations and Curator here at the Midwest Dream Car Collection. And we're thrilled to have Sean Mathis with us touring our museum and our collection. And just to show you a couple of the cars that we are showing Sean today, a couple of our highlight cars are, one of them here is this 1948 Tucker. This is Tucker number 17. This is our museum's most recent acquisition. The car came out of Colorado from Keith and Eileen Carpenter, owned this car for about 18 years. This car has a rich history of everything from being a beautiful car when it was created to ending up as being called a parts car at one point in time in the 60s and 70s, to being saved and fully restored over a number of years, most recently in 2000, where a lot of money was spent for a nut and bolt frame-off restoration on the car. Refinished in its original color of Andante green. The car sports the Y1 transmission. The car still has its original matching numbers, engine and transmission. Just a beautiful example of a very rare Tucker, like I said, Tucker number 17 of the 50 that came out of the plant back in the day. And we're just thrilled to have it in our collection. Came with a lot of ephemera. We have Newell stock luggage, radio, seat covers, all kinds of original Tucker documents, just a bunch of fun stuff for our museum guests to look at in the years ahead. Next to it's a newer acquisition for us as well. This is a rare 1957 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing Coupe. We acquired this car a year ago, July. This car was most of its lifetime in New Jersey. Very well cared for car. It's had 3 owners before we purchased the car. It being in 1957, they only made 70 of the Gullwing Coupes that year. This is number 53 of those 70. Again, this car is still equipped with its matching numbers, engine, transmission, and body. The only thing that's changed on this car is the car was repainted a different color from when it was created. Originally, it was a white gray color. It's been repainted this ivory color, kind of a soft yellow. The red leather interior is standard to the car the way it was born in 1957. Has the matching red luggage, which is beautiful. Just a very fun car to drive. Nice example of a Mercedes Gullwing Coupe. Also have a couple of nice, beautiful cars from the late 40s, early 50s over here. This 1951 Hudson Hornet. This is one of 551 convertibles that were produced that year. This car we bought at auction in Elkhart, Indiana a few years ago. It just came out of restoration about that time. Beautiful example of early 50s Hudson with the twin H-Power carb setup. That's parked right next to our 1948 Chrysler Town & Country. Here, and again, another nice example. This car still has its original wood that the car was born with. This car spent most of its life in Arizona, the last few years in California, where it was part of the Donner collection, the movie producers. Mr. Donner passed away a few years ago. The car went for auction. We acquired it at a Gooding auction. A beautiful example of what these wood cars look like back in the period. And you can just see all the intricate work with the finger joints in the wood, the beautiful woods that were used next to that deep blue color. This is a very stunning car. It's a blast to drive. Even with the fluid drive transmission, which takes a little getting used to if you've never driven one before, but a very smooth running automobile. The museum owns most of the cars in our collection. We have about 83 cars. We do also do a loaner program where we borrow cars from other people, typically private individuals. We have the 1972 Rolls-Royce over here in this burgundy and black, and parked kind of right behind it. It's a 2000 Bentley. These cars are owned by the Marsden family here in town. This Rolls-Royce was originally owned by Mike Douglas, the talk show host, which is a fun story behind it. Just a beautiful example of early 70s luxury. The sculpture over here, we had commissioned about 5 years ago when the museum was getting formed. A gentleman by the name of Benedict Radcliffe, whose offices are in London, does these. We'd seen one at a English taxi in the Heathrow Airport. And so we reached out to Benedict to see if he'd be willing to do a car for our museum. He was excited about that. Then when we decided what car to do, we decided to do an American muscle car, and Benedict Radcliffe was thrilled. He'd never done a muscle car before. So this is the car that he modeled it off of, but he didn't have this car with him when he did the artwork. So he worked off of blueprints and schematics and created this car in about 6 to 8 months over in London. And then we had it shipped over here to our museum in late 2019 to be revealed in 2020. It's been in our collection since that time. We have a lot of Corvettes in our museum. We have 3 currently on display. We have a 1963 Chevrolet split window. I'll park right next to it. It's the first year 1953 Corvette, one of 300. This is number 201. 300, all of them were finished in this polo white with the red interior. And then parked next to it is a 2019 Corvette ZR1. A very high-performing Corvette. Love the style of that Corvette with the long hood and that great Sebring orange color. This Lincoln Continental is a car that's on loan to us. It's an all-original car. Beautiful, beautiful example of late 70s luxury. And parked next to it is a car that's owned by the museum. It's 1956 Continental, where it all began for the Continental division. Nice example of a Mark II. Most expensive car, production car in the US at that time, at about $10,000. The company, the division only lasted about 2 years before it was rolled over into the Lincoln division, but a nice example. Next to it's a car that's on loan to us, a 1965 Corvair convertible, Monza convertible. Nice example of an early Corvair. This little Formula SAE car is a Kansas State University art museum housed in Manhattan, which is home of Kansas State University. We have a team up at K-State that every year builds and races these little Formula Motorsports cars, and this is their most recent one. It's on display in our museum. It's fun to see how these kids get so creative and learn so much. They come every year and not only let us display their car, but they talk about their program, how they design these cars, how they build them. Remarkably smart kids. Very proud of what our university is putting out for our engineering students. Little 1992 Lancia Delta Integrale Martini 5 Evoluzione. Fun little road rally car that we acquired about 2 years ago. Fun little car. I wish we could drive it, but unfortunately it's only got 34 miles on it. So we're afraid to drive it, to devalue it any. But a very nice example of a road rally car that Lancia really dominated at that time. Go over here and let Chris share with you some of these cars over here.
If you're into the supercars and into Fast and Furious, we've got a few things even for the younger video game generation. 2021 Ford GT on loan to us from our main benefactor, Ward and Brenda Morgan. That's surrounded by a couple of Ferraris, a 430 Modena in yellow and a 458 Italia in Ferrari's wonderful racing red. Next to it, we've got an 06 Ford GT, second generation of the GTs. It is brutally fun to drive that kind of car. This one here is all analog, so you don't have all the assists and things, you just have to drive. We have 2 wonderful Lamborghinis wearing Lamborghinis orange. First one here is a 2014 Lamborghini Aventador LP700-4 all-wheel drive V12. This particular car was once owned by Mario Andretti, the world-famous race car driver himself. He even signed the car when it was sold for charity around 2016. Great car to drive, lots of traction, lots of noise. In a lot of ways, though, I kind of prefer tractor next to it, where the Lamborghini story started so many years ago. Lamborghini made tractors out of military leftovers after World War II, starting in 46 and 47, and didn't make their first car till 64. Now to the one all the younger people like to see. We own one of the 14 show and display licensed R34 V-Specs. Our Skyline is a 1999 first year. It's got about 47,000 miles on it. It is the least modified of all the ones that have been brought in so far from what we can tell, with very few mods on it. But you want to get the Fast and Furious experience, this is the car for it. It is wonderful to drive, all-wheel drive, with the HiCAS Super HiCAS steering system that controls the rear end steering at 1 to 2 degrees. It even controls whether you're counter or contra steering, depending on what the car requires. These are a lot of fun, a very rare car, a very desirable car. This one is in the second rarest color, Midnight Purple 2, which takes 6 paints. Each of the paints runs 10 to 12,000 a gallon, so that's about a $100,000 paint job if we had to recreate it.